Egypt's plan to move their capital. So the country of Egypt is planning to move their current capital. At the moment, it's Cairo, but they want to move it somewhere out in the east. And I guess it's just referred to right now as the new administrative capital, but they will choose a name eventually. This is part of a new economic development program for a new Egypt by 2030. They got a lot of things they want to build, even an octagon, I guess, to hold some fights in. No, I think this is supposed to be like the Pentagon, except they're trying to be better with those 8 sides. And Egypt is not the only country that plans to move their capital. South Korea plans to move their capital to Sangjeong City, which is significantly further than their current capital of Seoul. That's like halfway across the country. Of course, I mean, South Korea isn't that large, but I'm just saying. I'm assuming the big reason to do this is just for like the economic development, but I also wonder if it's because the old capital maybe has problems. Maybe things just weren't planned out enough for them. If the USA was split into 2 halves with perfectly equal population, I'll never forget when I learned that like 50% of Americans are all living in the Eastern time zone. This was only like a year ago when I learned that, which makes sense why like every time you watch cable TV, they almost always have the schedule for the East, so you have to do like the math. Okay, I'm in California, I gotta minus that by 3 hours. So while it's 8 p.m. over here, it's gonna come on at a nice 5 p.m. over this way. It is crazy that the US can be split almost down the middle, at least through the side, and there's about equal amounts of people, but it really seems like just most people live in the Northeast still. They never experienced their own manifest destiny. They never moved out west. But now I am remembering the center point of our country is like somewhere in Arkansas, right? In terms of population density, I mean. A map of beavers in Europe starting in 1900 to now 2021. I now just realized that beavers are probably supposed to be in this continent, but for some reason when I first looked at this map, I'm like, why are beavers here? It looked like beavers were like an invasive species all of a sudden just taking over this landmass. Like, we gotta get rid of these beavers somehow. We gotta go back to these 1900s levels. For some reason, I thought beavers were just in North America. I don't know why. I'm assuming they were probably hunted for their furs, so a lot of them just kind of disappeared from this area. But it's good to see they're coming back. I'm already laughing at this one. Which states do you consider part of the South? Percentage classifying each state as part of the South from a survey of 1,100 people, identifying some or a lot as a Southerner. So 89% of respondents considered Georgia as a part of the South. 100% there isn't anything more Southern than Georgia, I think. And just these 4 states in general, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, they nailed it. But then 1% of respondents considered Colorado part of the South. Now that's a tough one. Here's the thing about this question though, it's all up for debate. Like, there is nothing defined as the South, I guess. Maybe that 1% of people lived in Wyoming, or actually Montana. Wyoming isn't real. I would say these 4 states, and maybe even Florida, I'd consider that the Deep South. So the surrounding neighboring states have to be also considered the South if this is just gonna be called the Deep South. So definitely South Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, and then parts of Texas, especially East Texas. Like, that is definitely the South. West Texas is kind of its own thing though. It's just such a big state. It's got a lot of things going on in it. Technically, Arizona and New Mexico are like the Southwest. There is South in that. I just feel like culturally, it's really different than these states. But then this is when things get weird. Ohio? Pennsylvania? Maryland? Delaware? I've never thought of Delaware and thought the South. But I guess for the people that never leave Long Island, that's what it does to you. I would love to poll my audience just to see what they consider is the South. I don't know how you can keep some of these states that were a part of the Union that weren't a part of the South, the Confederate states. But again, the question is just which states do you consider as part of the South? That can have so many different definitions. Definitely though, if you were part of the Confederacy, I think you gotta be considered part of the South. Radiation dose of Chernobyl liquidators. So we have the average person's yearly dose, about 3,600 x-rays. We have the radiation of the reactor roof, which is still going up, which is more than computed to whatever that is. Smoking 1.5 packs a day for a year. Even the Fukushima exclusion zone, radiation workers' max annual dose, it's still going up. That reactor roof was crazy. It had more radiation than 2 kilometers away from Hiroshima. Wow, so these people could not have made it. 5-year limit for radiation workers. Then there's the Chernobyl liquidator average. This video still has a whole minute left. I don't see how it's gonna keep going. 30 years as a commercial air crew. They get a lot of radiation like that? Astronauts on the International Space Station, at least for 6 months. The Fukushima's 1950s max dose. And then here is just the top, which is an average person's lifetime dose. So basically, if you went on that rooftop of the reactor, you'd get a full lifespan of radiation in a single day. It's a quarter of the way to radiation sickness, which if you've seen that TV show Chernobyl, you'll know it's not fun. This stuff scares the crap out of me. Maybe because it's like invisible, but it's like literally one of the worst ways to go imaginable. Oh, and I didn't even realize that the video is supposed to show you like the longer you stayed up on the rooftop, the more radiation x-rays you were taking in. So that's why they only had like a minute to do as much work as possible. Because every second that ticked by, they were passing up all these other factors. Oh, that's so terrifying. Here's a graph showing how extreme poverty is being eradicated in Latin America. So percentage of Latin Americans living below the poverty line, which is $1.90 per day. In the 1980s, it was at an all-time high. Almost 17% were living below the poverty line. And again, Latin America is considered from Mexico all the way down to Chile and Argentina. So that's a lot of people right there. It went down drastically in like 1986. I don't know why that happened. It didn't get much better through the 90s though, and then sometime in 2005, it really started to drop. Even during the 2008 financial crisis, like it was still going down. And now it's kind of leveled off to about 4% in 2015. I hope it doesn't go back up since we're now dealing with another issue. I mean, this is including all of Latin America. I wonder if it's just like one country that's keeping this like leveled off at 4%. Here we have European capitals that are below sea level, which seems like it would be a problem. There's only two, Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and then Baku, Azerbaijan. I didn't even know that was their capital name, Baku. Why do I feel like I'm saying some sort of anime term? Well, you're very much in luck, Azerbaijan. I don't think you really have to worry about being below sea level as much as Amsterdam does, unless for some reason the Caspian Sea just randomly fills up with a bunch of water. But if there was any people that would be able to master the sea, it probably would be the Netherlands. They've been reclaiming land for a long time, but I don't know if we want to keep on testing that, especially if sea levels are going to rise. The decline of Ireland's native Irish speakers. So the year 1800, it still seemed like most of the country spoke Gaelic. Then the potatoes went away and things started to get pretty bad. So in the span of 100 years alone, it went really far down. The country was able to slow the decrease in the next 100 years to 2000, but obviously it's barely surviving. It's kind of crazy to me that a language spoken by this many people can literally go extinct in like 200 years. I mean, I know that languages can go extinct, but I just didn't think it'd be that fast. This is what, like 5 generations maybe? At least there are some speakers, so I hope that we're like writing this stuff down and making sure we're starting a whole like dictionary for them. Someone perfectly recreated Europe from Yakko explaining the world borders, which this map does have a lot of problems, but consider this was like the 90s during some time. So there were no Baltic countries, no Belarus, no Ukraine. What weird color system they were using. There are just some countries that need to be colored with a certain type of color. This is the most disgusting border gore I've ever seen. Why would they do 3 countries in a row with green? And they're all neighboring each other. Spain, France, and Germany. I've never thought of any of those countries as the color of green. They definitely don't have green in their flags, so what are you doing? Denmark doesn't even have their islands anymore. I probably shouldn't nitpick this, but it's just so easy. The fuck is going on in Romania? And this is before the collapse of Yugoslavia too. Was this actually made in the 80s? No, it originally aired 1993 to 1995. Maybe they were using an old map for reference. And what is this Switzerland? Oh man, I really want to see a battle royale take place in this weird Europe. I like how Scotland is like randomly an independent country. I'm just surprised that they got Europe so badly, but all the other continents are okay. I mean, yeah, none of them are perfect either, but I've never seen someone mess up that specific landmass so much compared to the other ones. The decade's top earning celebrities. So number 1, we have Oprah Winfrey. James Cameron just dropped out of the sky after 2010. In 2011, we have Tyler Perry. Look at that. Steven Spielberg still in the game. Man, that guy's been around for a while. Jerry Bruckheimer. Michael Bay with the Transformer movies probably. Still Dre ain't still in that top 10, that's for sure. Simon Cowell in 2012. I figured his wealth would be more up during the American Idols. Oh, there we go. Dr. Dre was bought out by Apple, right? So Beats just got bought, more than likely. Here comes Floyd Mayweather. Oh, he ain't going anywhere, is he? Madonna's still up there? What year is it? I'm noticing a theme here. Like, a lot of these people are old. Oprah has finally dropped out. Robert Downey Jr. comes in. Manny Pacquiao was kind of up there, and then his wealth just completely dropped after he lost to Floyd, probably. Taylor Swift. That was Phil McGraw. Dr. Phil? Is that his last name? I didn't know that was his last name. My whole life, I thought his last name was Phil. J.K. Rowling. Here comes Kanye West. I would have never known any of this. How is George Clooney? What did George Clooney do? Is he a producer? What is he? He's considered an actor? What did George Clooney do? I'm clearly missing something here. Why also did Ed Sheeran get so much money? Here comes Kylie Jenner. Oh yeah, she was pretty rich there for a second. Yeah, Taylor Swift's gonna drop off. So this is per year, right? Here comes LeBron James. Then there's The Rock. Wow, Kylie Jenner making a lot. $590 million a year, which she is a billionaire, right? Look at, they're all athletes now. We started with just like a bunch of actors, directors. This is so weird. I guess George Clooney had a tequila brand that he sold. Wow, just seems like a giant rat race. Here's 10 years of viewing data from Netflix. Obviously, a lot more people are watching TV shows. 75% are watching TV shows on the platform compared to film. And the most watched TV show is Family Guy. What about The Office? I thought that was their biggest thing. Maybe they're not including The Office here. Most rewatched movies is 21 Jump Street. I thought everyone forgot about that movie. I'm glad people like that. I haven't heard people talk about that in a second. I really did not expect these films to be the top ones, but then again, it's been over the course of the last 10 years. Didn't Scott Pilgrim bomb at the box office? But look how well it's done afterwards. Kevin Hart's comedy special, that just made Kevin Hart right there. He's in here so many times. Watch time by the hour. Everyone's usually watching Netflix late at night, and it's usually on Sundays and Saturdays. Those are their big days, obviously the weekend. 2014 was a huge year for Netflix. Then it dropped in 2015 and 2016, at least in terms of hours. I wonder if that was when more streaming services got rolled out, like Hulu and stuff. Things haven't really recovered to those numbers as of the last 3 years, even during the lockdowns. But this is watch time per year. I'm sure people are dividing their time among multiple streaming services. People love their dramas. That's the most popular genre. Then comedy, at least when it comes to TV shows. When it's film, it's also drama and comedy, but then action adventure is really up there, and then there's a huge drop-off. Popular film directors, Tarantino. Glad to see some of these guys on here, like Martin. Bruce Willis still up here. He got 10 movies that are popular on Netflix. I guess this explains Adam Sandler's deal. Most popular TV actors. But what? I'm clearly missing something. Can be real interesting to see what the next 10 years looks like for Netflix. And big thank you to my patrons. RyethePie. This is Gabe. Why am I doing this? iLoveMarx. Drew has a small PP, but I give him money anyways. Dalton D. Drew's Argentinian grandpa. Bring back Polandball. AryanAfterHours. Barnsky W. Ivan Lima. Jesse C. LuxembourgLover. Majestic Unicorn. Max Cooper. McBlorf. Mine Brothers 999X2. And Stormtrooper 501. Thank you.